I'm Autumn Brown, frontwoman of the soul pop band Autumn, a queer science fiction writer, a theologian, a mother of dragons, and a healing justice facilitator for social movements living on Dakota and Anishinaabe land, currently known as Minneapolis.
And I'm Adrienne Marie Brown, luscious Black queer witch, writer, auntie, an apocalyptic cosmic optimist, and a gardener of healing ideas. I live in the land of the Okanichi, Shikori, Sperure, Tuscarora, Eno, and Lumbee peoples where we say, fuck ice.
Fuck ice. And this is How to Survive the End of the World.
Our podcast about learning from apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity.
As a reminder, we still have no ads. We are listener supported.
So join our Patreon for exclusive content.
Welcome
Sister,
back to
you made me laugh so hard just now.
Did I? It's because I'm a
you
comedian.
You really made me laugh so hard.
I'm a comedian.
Well, it's also because I want our listeners to know that Autumn started recording her intro and then she was doing a silly voice and messed it up. And so then she started back and did it again. And I was like, now she'll do a regular voice. But no, she didn't. She went right back to a silly
didn't.
Voice.
Never.
And I really am impressed by that dedication to your weird, you know?
I am nothing if not dedicated to my weird.
So weird.
Which feels very related to our ongoing artist fractal conversations, because what is making art if not being dedicated to our weird?
That's true. Recognizing you are weird in the sense that something about you doesn't quite fit into the world and which you're a part, and you can see something else, feel something else, hear something else. You have a different story that flows through you, and that makes you weird to your time or weird to your place, and
weird to people around you.
You have to make something to try to express it, and then
exactly.
Things go wild, and it's so interesting too, because there really are artists who are like, the weirdness is the point, which I deeply respect.
Right.
Folks who are like, the weirdness is the whole thing, being weird. And then there are other folks who are like, no, I'm weird. The work that I make might not be weird,
but I am weird.
When we think about the artists that we have met, the artists that we know, the artists that we are, the artists that we're going to have on this podcast, these are weirdos. We're all weirdos. Yes. And
not to one of them
holy
is normal.
Weirdos. Yeah, no, in different ways. And it's always delightful to me because I think about who they are on the page, and then I meet someone and I'm like, huh, wow. Amazing. And I know the same thing happens with me where people meet me and they're like, dang, so weird. You are weird and I am weird.
Yes.
You are weird and I am weird. And actually, it's one of the things I really respect about your art in particular is that I feel like, especially when you started making this last album, you were really like, this has to be weird. I am weird and I really wanted to have weirdness to it. And I don't think I'd ever heard anyone be explicitly oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to put in the mix. And I was like, yeah, that actually is a huge part of claiming your art. So
totally.
Right?
In the album making process, I just found that I was really drawn to, when I was in the studio in particular, I found that I was really drawn to making weird sounds and figuring out what role those sounds had to play in the album. And so some of my favorite moments on both of the EPs are moments where I improvised really strange sounds and then we figured out how to layer them into the music. And
exactly.
Yeah, and I think that it's that, I guess maybe we're talking improvisation first because.
Well, actually, yeah, sister, I was about to say, I know we were going to head in one direction, but I'm like, I want to stay right here for a second. There's more here that I want to unpack.
I feel like we maybe tend to think of improvisation as something we do on the way to the polished, finished product. But, and I don't know what it looks like in your practice, but in my artistic practice, it is often the material that comes through in improvisatory moments that ends up being the core element of whatever it is that I'm making. And so on the last EP or the second EP that my band released, there's a song called Leave You Buried. I mean, I've told the story on this show before of how hard it was to finish writing that song because it's the song about my miscarriage. When I was in the final steps of writing that song, we hadn't yet left for California to record in the studio. Nehemiah and I and Dwight were, where we were getting ready to travel.
I go to the ocean, Jamie. I go to the ocean, Jamie.
And I had a day where I was just recording. I was improvising in my dining room. I was improvising and recording into a recording software called Soundtrap. That's like like an online. It's like Logic Pro or any of those other tools, but it's like an online version.
Professionals will know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And recording software is what I'm saying. And I was just like, really. I was listening to the demos that we had recorded and I was just adding additional vocal layers. And then I started doing this thing that we ended up referring to as the vocal whip. And it was like this sound. And I recorded it multiple times. And then, but just, at my dining room, I'm not in a studio booth. I'm not in any kind of professional environment. And when we got to California, our producer, Meryl, saw those things, heard those things. And she was like, we're just pulling that in as is and dropping it right into the middle of the song, inside the bridge where basically it's a really almost wordless point in the song where now the grief is overtaking our ability to actually articulate what it is that's going on. I think of it as like a sound that's about like the ripping open that significant loss and rupture does to us. I wouldn't have anticipated that something I recorded sitting at the table in my dining room in an echoey, totally non-studio environment would have made it into the final version of the song. But I think of it as the centerpiece of the song,
Yeah.
And I've since done vocal whips on other recordings of things. And I'm like, this is like my thing. This is kind of my thing.
It's kind of your thing. It's definitely one of your things.
It's one of my things.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. Like, I think of almost all of my creative process as improvisational, and it's all the way through to the end, like the whole thing, it's actually really been interesting. I'm writing a book and I have like a book deal where there's people who are like, oh, we want to see things along the way. Or there's just much more engagement in the process. And it's been so fun to be like, oh, I haven't improvised it yet. Like I have like ideas, but I'm like, it's coming the way I do my
You're
whole
like, you
life,
want
my
a
whole
chapter?
writing life.
I'm just stream of consciousness scene over here.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I have a structure, right? Like a general, like it's a scaffolding that allows me to create into something, but it's nowhere close to what I imagine the final product will be. And that's how I've been with all of my projects, all of my books, is I'm like, okay, here's a general idea and here's a scaffolding for me to improvise within. And then as I'm improvising, as I'm coming across new things, which as a writer, and this ties back into the weirdness too, often what shows up for me is like something is happening, a discourse is happening in the public sphere. And I take it all in, I'm processing it. Maybe I process it emotionally. And then often I will sing about it. Like I'll just sit in ritual and kind of sing my way through, like, what do I feel about this? Until I find the place that doesn't feel touched. So it's like, what is the place that it feels like no one is speaking about this aspect of this? No one is getting underneath it and being like, this is really about this other subterranean level. And I can only get there by letting it move through me. Often I'll go to sleep and be like, there's nothing I need to add to this conversation. But that thought has started to occur to me. And then I'll wake up in the morning and it'll feel like coherent. And it's like often my first waking thought, like I'll wake up and I'll be like, ooh. So I'm trying to think of I'm trying to see if I can see what I woke up with this morning, because it was like, we're in North Carolina right now. I'm in North Carolina, and ice has shown up on the scene in an intensive way this week. And yesterday, what I kept thinking about was like, how are some people able to look at what's happening and not react? And some people are looking at it like, I've got to go save my neighbor. I've got to go protect. I've got to do something about this. Right. And when I was sitting with it yesterday, I was like, oh, there's something about people's imagination. Like they can't even imagine this ever happening to them. Right. Like they can't, it's like, if you can't imagine it. And then this morning I woke up, I was like, empathy is also a function of imagination. Like you cannot have empathy about something that you cannot imagine experiencing, happening to you, what it would be like. You can't put yourself in someone's shoes. And so your privilege keeps you, right, from being able to have that empathy. So it's like, oh yeah, you're not looking at those as people. You're not looking at them as people who are in any kind of circumstance you could ever be in. And so then you're just like, those people trying to get something from me, or those creatures, right? And then for those of us who do look at it and are like, that is a human with a baby in their arms and someone grabbing the baby from their arms. And like my whole system floods with like memory, imagination, like that sort of cluster of things that create the empathy. That's like, I can so feel and imagine what that's like, and I can't tolerate it. And so I must do something about it. I think the same thing happens like in my own writing process. Like I woke up with that thought, but I was like, oh yeah, this is also my writing process, is like, what can I imagine about something? And if I'm imagining inside the existing container, then that writing is not even going to be interesting to me. So I'm like, I could get it done. I could get it done by a deadline, but I'm like, this is just what other people have already thought and said about this. There's nothing in here that feels fresh or weird or like bringing a new angle in. Whereas the improvisation is what allows me to be like, oh, just keep following that thread, and just sort of see where your mind can get to. If you keep saying, well, okay, but what about, why would that happen? Why would that happen? What if this happened? You know, that kind of science fictional thinking, right? What if only, if this goes on, like, how can I interrogate this until I follow it all the way down? And that takes a lot of time and space for me. So I'm not a deadline writer, you know, because improvisation, I'm like, I need room to like, let this thing simmer and cook and pop and bubble and like explode. And then I'm like, okay, now I have something, and I'm ready to move it very quickly.
Yeah. You know? It's interesting. It's interesting too, because I hear the part that's about like, you know, needing the space, or I hear the thing you're saying about not being a deadline writer. And also I know that you're able to, you know, you're a very prolific writer and you generate a lot in a short period of time. And I think that there's something I want to bring in around the relationship between improvisation and having the right container in which to improvise, because it's like, you could actually, like in my experience, for instance, the container of the studio environment, particularly the studios that I've recorded in that are like basement spaces, windowless spaces, where once you descend into the darkness through all of the locked doors of the spaces and close the doors behind you, you enter a like timeless womb zone in which a lot of stuff moves and happens in a relatively short span of time. Like in the case of both of the EPs, they were recorded in the span of either 4 or 5 days, which every recording artist I've talked to about this has been like, that's unheard of. But I think that there was something about the intensive nature of the like truncated amount of time, and then the womb environment that we created that made room for a sort of improvisational energy to kind of like generate. And then, you know, and I think you have, your life has been set up in such a way that you've been able to create a lot of containers that allow for a lot of improvisation to happen.
It's not even true. It's like, I always have, there's always some deadline that's set in place, because that's part of the container for me. It's the fact that like, I will not be writing this forever. Right. Like, I will be writing this for a certain period of time, but you're right. Like I have found that I need almost total spaciousness for the period in which I'm actually doing the writing. So I think of it as phases, right? There's the phase where I'm just gathering the raw material, right? So like with this book, this past summer was like that, where I was just like, just think of all the stuff you want in here, blah, 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 put that all down,
Right.
get that into some kind of structure, whatever. And then there's this phase where I'm like, okay, now I'm actually in the writing. And so I keep literally telling my team, like, I need less stuff on my schedule. I need less stuff, like less distraction, less meetings, less budget. Like anything that's taking me out of thinking about this book is not what I want to be doing right now, because now it's improvisational time. And like, there are literally hours where I'm just sitting staring into space, or hours where I'm sitting like rereading what I have here, or hours where I'm just like, oh, and then all of a sudden it'll boom. It'll come like, oh, there's the paragraph. There's the thought. That's the thing. And I also, a lot for me happens in conversation. So it's like I've created the containers, and then I have conversations that move the content along within that container, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, every talk I'm having right now, there's some little morsel, some little nugget, something magical in it that I'm like, oh, that's part of the wisdom. And it's like, that aspect of improvisation, which is like, at least for me, it rarely happens alone. It's like, I heard some geese. I saw something that inspired me, or I was in a conversation that inspired me. It's like, there's something relative. And what you just spoke about,
inputs.
The container of collective improvisation is also so thrilling to me when you're in, like the ritual experience I got to do, where it was like, okay, I've done my writing and my sort of generation, but now it's going to take on a whole nother life. And that process was so thrilling for me, like watching people who are so skilled at improvising with different things. Like some were like, I improvise with this instrument, and others improvise with their voice, and others improvise with their arrangements, and others, improvise with their ideas, and like all of that coming together in one place, and like kind of witnessing each other, being like, we're together getting somewhere neither of us could have gotten alone.
Exactly.
Is so exciting to me.
Yes.
And even when I'm writing something, I'm always thinking like, I'm offering you my part of the conversation, but you as the reader are going to take it places that I couldn't imagine. And with every book or everything I've written, like I'll hear back from people a couple years later, like, I did this with that work. And I'm like, what? Like literally beyond the realm of what I could have foreseen. But I think that's, to me, my favorite work, and the work that I love most is when I'm like, oh, I can feel that you took this time and took the space to let something new come through.
Totally. Beautiful. What a great place to land. Thank you for sharing about your improvisation practice.
Well, thank you for taking us into the womb of creation.
The womb of weird.
I love you.
Love you. Thanks for listening to our show. We're on Instagram at End of the World PC.
You can make a sustaining donation to our show by visiting our page at patreon.com/endoftheworldshow.
Another incredible thing you can do to help our show sustain itself is to write us a review on Apple Podcasts if you are an iPhone person. This helps people looking for good new content to find us.
Thank you.
I go to the ocean, yeah.